We are live, Mina.
Oh, great. Thanks for letting me know. Good job.
Welcome to the wash up. People will trickle in as
Trickle
we
in,
chat.
nice one. Nice one.
Very good.
Do you
That was
put do you put a, do you put donations in for like every water pun that you make?
no, but we have a team member who ends every weekly call with a soap pun or joke. I will send some to you.
Do you get penalized if it's a repeat?
Of course, of course. But
Nice.
we will donate soap on your behalf if you can include a bubble joke here or a soap bar joke. So pressure's on, if you
Hmm.
anyways, so thank you everyone for joining. So Mina, thank you very much. It was a hard one to track you down since you were running across the planet and Antarctica as well, but thank you for your time. The Wash Up, very briefly, is a quarterly simulcast where we chat about all things Eco Soap Bank. But also, the real reason why we started this is I was having incredible meetings with amazing leaders and people, and I just wanted to share that with the broader audience. You will be surprised to know that our initial chat, which you probably don't remember, left quite an impression on me. Not sure if you recall, but I showed up in a tea right after a run. I was drenched in sweat, but you did not seem to mind whatsoever. I could have worn a tux if that was more appropriate, but regardless, so you were doing something amazing at that time with Sweat for Soap, a global campaign to raise awareness about hand washing. And I remember from that call that all I wanted to do on our call was to help the campaign, raise awareness, partner with you guys, and just help. But in one fell swoop, you turned the conversation around and started asking me about my pain points and how you could help Eco Soap Bank. The floor really went from under my feet. And I just have to say that must be part of your your spirit and your commitment. You do this work, this advocacy work for others. So thank you, Mina.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm just the Muppet that goes out and does like crazy stuff to bring attention to this issue, but you're the ones that deliver the meaningful change on the ground. So without you guys doing what you do, what I do becomes meaningless.
Thank you very much. So I considered introducing you and reading from a dry and probably outdated bio, but would
Dry
you do
bio, got it. It's another donation. Tick, 10 more bars of soap.
There you go. Perfect. The campaign never ends. But
Definitely never ends. No,
would you
you know what? Hopefully one day it will end. Hopefully one day we will solve this water problem. Everyone will have access to sanitation and hygiene services, and we won't need to be running around donating soap anymore.
Really? So your point is to make yourself obsolete, which is a mantra that we've been echoing for a long time too. Our nonprofit should not have to exist on many fronts, from the manufacturers and factory side all the way down to the end recipient. Hopefully one day soap will be affordable to everybody, and it's just not.
Yeah, I think look, I think it's not like I want to make myself obsolete. I feel like, I think that this is more about saying I just don't want to have to run anymore. I don't like it. I don't want to have to do it. So the sooner we can solve all of these water problems, the sooner we can get affordable soap and into the hands of the people that need it, give access to everyone, give everyone access to sanitation services, and help improve the lives of billions of people around the world, then it means I don't have to run. I can stay home, go to the beach, read a book, get sleep, not have to get up at 4:30 in the morning every day, you know, all those good things. That'd be nice.
That would be nice. Yes, we can all celebrate with you. It seems for a professional long-time runner, you don't enjoy it very much. How did you tie running with advocacy?
Like all good things, by mistake. No, okay. So I do not like running. Like when I was a kid and I was at school, I hated doing sport. In fact, if sports teams were picked, I was like the last person picked to do anything because I'm really uncoordinated and I'm terrible at sport. So it's kind of ironic that I'm sitting here now, like however many years, a lot of years, because I'm really old, later kind of like, oh yeah, and you're going, oh yes, you're a long time runner, and I'm like, yeah, well that was a bit, don't want to say I fell into it because that's like a really bad jinx pun for a runner, because you don't really want to fall over, although I have to say that I've done a lot of times too. If you look at some of the footage of some of my early runs, I've got like, when I ran in the desert, I tripped over in Australia on this like plain track. Like I run on some crazy surfaces, and we're running on this dirt road, and Mina finds the only rock in like 42 kilometers of running, and my toe stubs in it. I fly through the air, I land on the ground, and there's blood pouring out my knee. And I turn around and go, just don't tell my mom. Everyone's like, can you stand up? I'm like, just don't tell mom, I've got blood everywhere. She's always worried about me running and hurting myself. And now I've gone and done it. Anyway, I spent the next, 3 deserts? I think we're doing 7, next 4 deserts running. We had to like create these makeshift pads for my knees, so it looks like I'm running with these massive nappies on my knees. So embarrassing. I'm like, guys, don't take pictures of my legs, just take pictures from the waist up, because I've got nappies on. And then it got even worse, because even when like the scar, like it all healed and stopped bleeding, I still had these nappy marks from suntan. So I not only had these big white patches on my knees where the sun hadn't reached. So embarrassing. I'm like, yeah, this is like me trying to pretend that I'm like this crash hot runner. Anyway, the answer to your question, long-winded, is yeah, never been a good runner. Got into running because I hurt my back really badly in an accident. I got pushed into a swimming pool when I was at university, and I started running just to demonstrate to myself that no one was going to tell me what I could and couldn't do. A doctor had told me, oh, you'll never be able to run again. And rather than like going back and high-fiving all my mates going, I always wanted an excuse not to have to run, to sit on the couch, eat pizza, go to the beach like we just talked about. Actually, something kind of changed in me, and I thought, at what point do I start letting other people determine what my life should look like, what my goals and objectives should be, and what I can and can't do? And I said that day for that happening is not now, and it's not ever. And so I started running to, I started swimming first. I went to swim practice with a bunch of people as part of a dare. My mate was like, yeah, I bet you can't turn up to swim training. I'm like, I bet I can. Anyway, turns out that they trained at 5 a.m. in the morning. I was like, oh, well, I'll just be getting home by that stage. Do you reckon I can just rock up in whatever I'm wearing, like my going out clothes? Anyway, rock up. They swim 10K, I swim 2 laps, I'm dying. They're like, oh, let's go out and get breakfast. I'm like, really, seriously, I need to sleep. Anyway, started biking with them, and eventually started running. And that was my first introduction to running. So it is kind of a weird thing that for me, when I very first started running, I couldn't even run 100 meters. I'd be doubled over, huffing and puffing, a bit like I was this morning actually when I went out for my run, but don't tell my coach that. And I just just stuck at it. And I think that's part of everything really. You find something that you need, you want to do, you need to do. And for me, I need to do it. I need to get out there. I want to go out, and I want to tell the stories of people on the ground who are impacted by the water crisis. I run in places where our planet is facing huge water problems, where our people are facing big challenges, and I give them an opportunity to tell their story, not only to me, but to the media that is interested in the crazy, stupid stuff that I do. So, a big part of what I'm doing is to try to say, how do we bring media attention to these issues, and how do we give a voice to the people and the issues that need them?
Thank you. clearly your running style is not unidirectional. You take many twists and turns, and we appreciate that too. Listen, your work is important to us. Without water, there is no hand washing with soap. So please don't make yourself obsolete too quickly. Please keep on going. We commend you, and we can't thank you enough. And to bring it home, really, how did you stumble across soap of all things? I remember from our call that you kept mentioning everything is connected. Climate change is connected to water, and it will manifest itself in water. Agriculture is connected to water. And in our rather niche and maybe esoteric nonprofit, water is central to everything that we do. How did you stumble across Sweat for Soap this year?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, Eco Soap Bank is not a niche, quirky, little small nonprofit. You are making an immense impact in this world and on this planet, and most importantly, in the lives of millions of people around the world, and specifically on the lives of children. Someone said to me once, "It's not what the future holds, but who holds the future." We need a planet where people around the world have equal opportunities. If kids can't go to school, if kids can't stay safe and healthy to get through their school years, then we have a future that is biased towards the rich, the ones that can afford clean hygiene services. And I think that that's wrong. Everybody should have an opportunity. You know, I was never a runner. I was a really like fat little kid at school that never got picked for a sports team. I'm a terrible runner, but my thing is like, why do you have to be anyone to be someone? Anyone can be someone. Anyone can be someone. But the reality is not anyone can be someone if we don't live long enough to be that person. And a big part of what we're doing and what you're doing is to make sure that people stay healthy and safe and can attend school and can have advantage of the opportunities that face them, that their access to their ability to achieve should not be limited by their access to water and sanitation and soap. It should be limited by their ability to dream the dreams that they want to dream.
Thank you. Thank you for putting that so eloquently. This
Oh,
has
wait, you
been
asked me a question. I didn't really answer the question. Sorry, Samir. Like I got off. I told you. So I warned you before we started this chat, there'd be a lot of rabbit holes and I'd be disappearing down a lot of them. So anyway, that was one.
That's good.
Okay, so you asked me why soap and why hygiene. Okay, so a little bit of background. So when I started, I'm late to water, right? I'm old and I'm late to water. Two whammies against me. Well, two of many. Like I've got like a semi-trail of whammies like following me around the world. Okay, so when I started, let's just backtrack a bit because I think it's helpful to put this into context. So I started running 2016 because it seemed to me to be a good, bit of backstory. Like, let me just, Samir, should I just kind of go back a bit and give myself a bit of an intro so everybody kind of understands where I'm coming from in this? Because they're probably thinking, like, what a crazy nutcase this woman is thinking, Samir. Okay, so fat kid, no running, finish kind of school, start being a lawyer. Oh, I know, like the dregs of society. Oops, I should probably not have said that on a recorded video. Anyway, so felt like just working in mergers and acquisitions, corporate privatization, infrastructure investment, like hardcore financial stuff. Ended up working in climate change, went to the World Bank and in Washington, traveled around the world doing climate change stuff and got recognized for my work by the World Economic Forum, who nominated me as a young global leader, part of their Young Global Leaders community, an amazing, amazing group of people. And an opportunity that ended up changing my life because it introduced me to water. Now, I've grown up in Australia, so I understood what it means to have not enough water. We had a 10-year drought when I was growing up, so I watched in shopping centres as the fountains were replaced by plastic potted plants. And we had dinner time conversations talking about how to jerry-rig our washing machines and save all of the grey water. But what I hadn't appreciated is that water scarcity and water problems are issues that really affect people all over the world. And that this is an issue that's not going to go away. and that it's in fact getting much, much worse. And that the impact is being felt not just in the people that don't have access to soap and water, but it's being felt in supply chains and economies and our societies all around the world. Because Samir, as I've told you before, water is connected. Water, to wash your hands, you need soap. To wash your hands with water, you need healthy ecosystems, because water does not come from a tap. Water comes from the entire ecosystem that needs to be healthy on our planet in order for us to be able to keep clean and safe and healthy, especially in a pandemic. So this was a big eye-opening experience to me. I was like shocked that I didn't know any of this. And I made a decision to move away from climate and move into water. So I set up a nonprofit, bit of a strange thing for me to do, because I had come out of the for-profit space. So went in to set up my own nonprofit. We started educating kids in China about water and about the water crisis. Educated a couple of million kids, but I was getting increasingly frustrated because the water problem just seemed to be getting bigger, and the change that we were making just seemed to be way too slow. So
If I may, if
oh
I may,
yes, I'm here. So
and
I'm
by,
like, am I just rabbiting
no,
on
no, no,
in
no,
my
no,
little
this is
rabbit
good.
hole?
Yeah, way to slip in educating a couple million children right in there, quietly. What did this curriculum look like? What were key messages you were trying to get across?
Yeah, so what we realized very quickly was that actually, if kids, okay, so there's water has a huge issue, because people feel like the problems with water exist miles away. Oh, it's a kids in Africa problem. Oh, it's a people in South Africa or an India problem or a Chile problem. It doesn't affect me. And what we realized is that actually my big aha moment at the World Economic Forum, standing on the stage, interviewing Peter Brabeck, who was the global chairman of Nestle at the time, and talking all about water in supply chains, was that actually we're all connected to the water problem through the supply chains, through the things that we use, we buy and consume every day, because water goes into literally everything. So if I think about the clothes that I'm wearing today, all water was used to make the shirt, the jumper, everything. Just what I'm wearing today took more water to make than all the water I've drunk in my lifetime. And that, for me, was a big realization, not only because of the water that goes into the textiles that are produced to make the jumpers and sweaters and shirts, but actually also because of the water that the people are drinking and using to wash their hands in those factories and in those communities. And so I decided that I was going to do something about it, and that the way to do something was to connect all of us everywhere to the supply chains that we depend on. So the curriculum that we used in the schools across China was to really educate kids about this notion of invisible water, to start asking where your stuff has come from, who made your stuff, what were the facilities like where they made your stuff, did they have access to wash services, did they have access to soap, did they have, where was it grown, what were the lives of the farmers like. So for us, that was a huge opportunity to connect people in one part of the world, in many of them in big cities and big communities, to the problems that exist in other places. And instantly there was a connection, and instantly the kids started saying, well, what do you want us to do? So that was that was the nuts and bolts of the actual curriculum. And then just giving them an opportunity to start to do cool, interesting activities. And part of, you asked me before, why Sweat for Soap? Sweat for Soap was a way for us to say to people in one part of the world, you can do something here that has meaning for someone somewhere else. Give yourself a gift of sport and health and community, and give others the gift of life. And for me, celebrating my birthday, celebrating Global Hand Washing Day, what better way to actually make an impact on people's lives? What better gift to give than the gift of a healthier future?
Thank you for giving us your 30th birthday, and we'll leave it at
30th
that.
birthday. No, you can say
Well,
I'm old. No, you can say, I don't want to, like, half of this is like, we need to be real, Samir. We need to be real about life and about opportunity. Never too old to make change. You're never too old to get out there and make a difference in the world. So many people say to me, oh, well, I couldn't do that because, like, I'm old. And I look at them and I think, all right, you look like you're about 25. And they go, oh, I'm 30. And I go, I'm 20 years older than you. I'm like, 50 years old. And I'm out there running hundreds of marathons. Are you kidding me? No excuses. There should be
Even with
no excuse to get out there and do what you dream of doing, and no excuse to get out there and change the world, and no excuses to solve our water crisis.
we were happy to contribute soap. It's what we do. It's our bread and butter, if you will. We were astonished by the success of the campaign. Absolutely astonished. Clearly, you have a way of inspiring and activating people. How? How is it done? And it's quite a responsibility to have.
Yeah, it's uh, so here's what I think. I think that this is about identifying an issue that we are mostly blind to. Most of us exist and live in places where we turn on a tap and water comes out. Most of us exist in places where we reach out and there's a bar of soap or there's a hand pump with soap in it. Most of us are lucky enough to be able to walk down the street, and when we walk into a place, there's hand sanitizer. This is not the lives of billions of people on the planet. This is the life of a privileged few. And the reality is, when we open people's eyes, when we cure that water blindness, people want to step up and want to act for change. So part of this process of these campaigns that I do is to not only give voice to the people and the communities on the ground that are suffering from these problems, to raise awareness of the situation and to cure water blindness that exists amongst so many billions of us on the planet, but then to deliver a clear pathway to action. One of the big problems is, we all sit there and we say, far out, this is bad. There are people that are hungry. There are people that are thirsty. There are people who don't have access to sanitation services. What can I do in my community, in my life, to make a difference? And what we did with Sweat for Soap is to give people an opportunity to be part of the solution, not just to be sitting there watching the communities hurt in other parts of the world.
Will you do it again? And let me start by saying we would like you to, if it works out. This has been a persistent problem forever. Lack of equitability when it comes to soap. And I won't prattle off statistics here and there. But for one of the very first times, we had something exciting to do. People felt empowered, and people took up the mantle and really did it. How can we keep it going? What are some ideas you have?
Yeah. So first of all, we have to keep this going. 3 billion people on the planet don't have access to adequate hand washing facilities. Our work is not done. We need to raise the level of our ambition. Yes, we gave away, thousands and thousands, more than 80,000 bars of soap. Awesome, right? In 1 week from standing start, amazing, but not good enough, right? Because 3 billion people on the planet don't have access to adequate hand washing facilities. This is one opportunity for us to do something, but we need to do more. We need to raise the level of ambition, and we need to start thinking, how do we actually cure this problem? When I started these crazy running campaigns, the first one we did was I ran across 7 deserts on 7 continents in 7 weeks. And part of that was to say, we need to challenge ourselves to do things that we never thought were possible. We need to set the bar high, and we need to go big or go home. This is not a problem that we can sit in the bus stop and watch the buses come in and go out. This is a problem we need to get on that bus and we need to go somewhere to solve. We need to fix this. And saying we'll leave it to somebody else, or I'm just one person, what can I do? That's wrong. I'm just one person. And we organized a campaign to give away more than 80,000 bars of soap with the help of a whole lot of people, because you know what? Each one of us is only one person. But when we find a community of people united by purpose, by passion, and by perseverance, we can move the world. And that is what we need to do to solve these hand washing issues and to get soap into the hands of the 3 billion people that don't have access to it, not just today, not just tomorrow, but permanently.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, We loved the campaign. Our team participated in it as much as they could as well. And to piggyback off your ambitious discussion, we have a current campaign ongoing right now and a fundraiser. We're trying to put sustainable supplies of soap into the hands of 2 million kids next year. Still a fraction of the total global need, but it is within our reach. It's something that we can actually do. So I would encourage people to head to our website and Facebook page, and please pledge your support and help out as much as you can. One of the reasons why we wanted to talk with you specifically is about the kindred
Because you're offering to
overlap.
run. Oh, sorry.
No, our
How many
kindred over
marathons are you gonna like sign up to now?
as many as
Sorry,
many
Samir,
as
I'll stop
needed.
interrupting. Keep going. You're
No,
gonna ask
no,
me a
not
really
at all.
serious question. I can tell. No, I'm not being
Where
serious.
can I get nappies for the knees?
We jerry rigged those nappies out of a whole lot of bunches of like, I don't know, like padding from somewhere. I don't even know. We're staying in tents. We're literally in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, I don't know. The team is incredibly innovative and found bits of padding and we lashed them around my knees. You
Can
can see
you
it's on the pictures. It's really embarrassing.
can you
Please don't
tell
do it.
us a can you tell us a story of a run or a moment in the developing world that really struck you or resonated with you? Take your time if it's not on the top of your head.
Uh, Samir, I've got so many stories of so many moments when I just thought, I've got to do something. I
Yeah.
think one of the most impactful was, I've talked about the run in the deserts, and that was the first one I did. So it was really an incredibly powerful thing to be a part of. Um, but when I started, I always thought, oh, I'm just going to go back to my regular life. I'm going to go back to my investment fund. I'm going to go back to first to the nonprofit that I set up, educating kids. I always just thought it was like, this blip in my
Mm.
life and somehow it was just going to be over. And um, I was in South Africa in a place called the Richtersveld Desert, which is a desert that goes between the tip of Namibia and South Africa. And there's a river that runs through this desert called the Orange River. It provides life and sustenance to a whole community of people, and it provides irrigation to crops that get flown all over the world. And I stood on the bank of that river, and the idea had been that we would take our support vehicle, put it onto a barge and float it across the river. So it was baking hot. We get down to the river. I'm like, oh, maybe I can even like duck in for a little sneaky swim. I'm like, do swim miles count for running? No, no. So I got down to the bank of the river and there's like all this commotion down there. And I'm thinking, well, it's a bit weird. Like normally there's nobody around these places where we get to. And the guys were coming back up the road with their hands like crossed like this,
Oh,
like you can't go across. And it turns out that the river was so low that the barge that
oh,
we'd put the vehicle onto had stuck with the car on it halfway across. They got the cranes and they were winching the car back. They're like, you can't go across. And I said to the guy, is this unusual that the river is this low? And he said, we've never seen it this low, not in any of our lifetimes. Just 8 years ago, it was like right up, and he points to this point on the top of the cliff bank where you can see where the river was, and it's miles above us. And I just looked and I was like, why? Have you had drought? Is there a problem here? And he said, actually, there's been so much irrigation upstream, not regulated, that it has pulled all the water out of the river, and this is the trickle that's left, and we fully expect that in the next year it will no longer make it to the sea. And I said, what are they making? What are they growing? And they said,
yeah.
grapes. They're growing grapes here in the middle of the desert. And I thought to myself, how many times have I picked up a grape, looked at it and gone, this is a bit like soggy looking, and tossed it in bin and been like, I'm not going to eat that. I thought, never again will I ever look at anything that our planet has given me in the same way. And for me, it's a kind of a weird, silly, bit corny story, but I stood on the bank of that Orange River and I felt my life change. And I said to myself, I am going to fix this water problem. This is my mission. It's my ambition in life. And it is the thing that I'm going to do. There is no life apart from fixing this. because water is life. Water is life for you, it's life for me, and it's life for every single living, breathing person and animal and thing on this planet. So without it, what is there? There is no goals, there are no ambitions, there's no future. So I stood there and I said, this is it.
In a rather crude way, to follow up such a beautiful story, thank you. When we turn our gaze to the stars, what is it we're looking for? Of course, life and radio signals and signs, but we're also looking for water, because one equates the other. I forgot my question.
That's okay. I think, Samir, I think one of the really interesting things for me has been that was the spark of a much longer journey to really understand water in all its glory and all its problems. And there are some, that understanding some of these crises helps us to better work out how to solve them. So,
Yeah.
I've met scientists down in Antarctica talking about the impact of global warming and climate change on people's lives and livelihoods, and on our water cycle. I've had an opportunity to speak to women in India and places who stand by their gates waiting for water to be delivered once a day. I've met innovators at the top of the cliffs in places like the Atacama. I've met so many incredible people along my journey. And one thing I've learned is that we need a positive attitude towards solving these problems, but we also need to accelerate action, and we need to never give up, because we might be okay in some of the places that we live in, but there are billions of people around the world who aren't.
Absolutely. I can't help but think, listening to you, that we've forgotten about water, that somehow we have turned our attention to other things. Public health, global health, climate change, our carbon footprints. Just listening to you to hear what the cost of water, by the way, water blindness is an incredible term. I will begin to use it. But the cost of water per product that we use and take for granted each and every day, and that includes soap. How can we take a holistic view of the true cost of things rather than picking apart certain causes? Any thoughts on that? Of course, causes and issues have competing interests, but often they're so interconnected that it does a disservice to pull them apart from one another.
Yeah, I think in the water community, one of the things that we've done terribly badly is break down silos. Instead, we've built them. So, I get incredibly frustrated by this notion of, well, there's 6.1 and 6.2 water sanitation hygiene, and then there's like ecosystems, and then there's transboundary water management, and then there's integrated water resources management. I'm like, are you serious? It's all water. It's one ecosystem. You can't have soap if there's no water. What are you going to do with it? Eat it? Okay, I shouldn't say that, because I've seen marathons where people have eaten. Anyway, a long story, a whole nother story. What are you going to do with soap, right? Without water? What are you going to do with a tap with no water? We need to have an integrated system. Yes, water comes from ecosystems. There's some crazy stat like 83% of freshwater species populations are collapsing. It's nuts. We have unhealthy ecosystems. And if we have unhealthy ecosystems, we have unhealthy water, we have or no water coming out of our taps. And I think that, that's a big problem. So why is it that forest deforestation in the Amazon makes front page news, but our wetlands are disappearing 3 times faster than our forests? The wetlands we need for our healthy ecosystems to deliver the water to us so that we can wash our hands and stay healthy. Why are we not paying attention to this? And why has the water community said somehow by their silence, we've accepted that this is okay? It's not okay. Water needs to be front page news. We need to make saving water so famous. It's not just the right thing to do, it's the only thing to do. And we need to do it now, not 20 years from now, right now. The gap between where we need to be on SDG 6 and where we are today is way bigger than the Grand Canyon equivalent, right? So it's absolutely massive. And yet every time I turn up to these international conversations or, you know, have these discussions with people, it's somehow like accepted, well, that's just where we are. Well, I don't care that's where we are. That's not where we should be. And it's definitely not where we should be going. We need to change. I was not a runner. And yet I've done crazy things. I ran across 7 deserts on 7 continents in 7 weeks. I ran 40 marathons in 40 days down 6 of the world's great rivers. I met the farmers. I met the communities. I met the policymakers. I've met people along the way who've told me the nature and extent of this problem, and it is huge. And then I said, you know what? No excuses. We need to be 100% committed to solving this problem. So in 2018, I tried to run 100 marathons in 100 days to demonstrate what it means to be 100% committed to this problem. I'm not a runner. I don't like running, and I'm really bad at it. I only got on Strava 5 weeks ago because all these years I've been so terrified that people are going to actually see just how bad of a runner I am. There's like this whole thing, oh, I mean, it's a great runner, like totally bad runner. Now I'm like, you know what? Who cares? This is not about running. This is about getting out there and doing things outside of your comfort zone to make the world a better place, to get out there and change the world. And so for me, this opportunity to run, to get out there, to make the world a better place, it is about no excuses. And day 62, so 100 marathons in 100 days, demonstrate what it means to have no excuses. But at day 62, I finished my marathon and I could not run anymore. I couldn't even walk, couldn't put my foot down without support, literally. And I have huge pain threshold, and anyone who wants to see what terrible condition I put myself into, it's all available. We've got like videos and things online. It's harrowing for me to go back and watch it and just see how bad I was. Day 63, instead of going running, my team took me to the hospital and I was diagnosed with a broken leg. And I sat in my wheelchair and I thought, I've let down everybody. I have let down the planet. I've let down the next generation. I've let down my team. I've let down my community. I've let down all those people whose stories I still have left to tell. And I've let down this movement of kind of awareness that we've been trying to build. And obviously there were a lot of tears, like a lot of tears. I was not my finest moment. And, you know, Thomas Fuller said once, sometimes the darkest moments are the ones before dawn. I have never seen black darkness like that moment. And my team came in as I was sitting there and they said to me, you know what, Mina, we didn't know about water before we started, but now we do. This is a problem that is much bigger than you. It's much bigger than any one of us. So today we're going to go and do your miles for you. So day 63, they went out and ran a marathon. Day 64, people from across Cape Town, which is where we were, turned up to run with them. Day 65, more people started running around the world. And by the time we got to day 100, we'd not run 100 marathons in 100 days. We'd run the equivalent of the North to the South Pole and more. People from 160 cities in more than 50 countries and territories had turned up to run for water. For me, that was an incredibly humbling and inspiring moment. But it also showed me that whilst individually we can make an impact, together we can get out and change the world. And that is the beauty of doing things like Sweat for Soap campaigns, where we can demonstrate that we are not just one person. We're part of a global community for change, that this is about uniting people with purpose, with passion, and with perseverance. This is about building a community and movement for a better planet and a better world, not for us, but for the next generation. So to any person that stands up and says, I'm just one person, what difference can I make? You can make a difference. Every one of us is capable of delivering incredible, big, momentous things if only we dream about it and have it close to our hearts.
I have nothing more to say, and certainly not after that. You created a real life relay race, and we can't thank you enough. And lastly, it seems a common through line through all these anecdotes and your episodes is that of sacrifice. We don't live in a vacuum. The COVID pandemic is real and it's raging, often which we have unreliable data, particularly in some of the countries that we work in. Can you please talk about what sacrifices we need to make globally, not only for water, but for COVID and other pressing issues as well? Is sacrifice part of the equation here in your estimation?
Oh, Samir, I don't think this is about sacrifice at all. I think this is about, don't ask me why not, ask me why. Don't ask me how not, ask me how. I think part of this is how we think about things and how we phrase them in our mind. If I think about, getting up at 4:30 a.m. is a sacrifice, I'd never do it. I get up at 4:30 in the morning because I think about the opportunity I have to get out and watch the sunrise. I think about the opportunity I have to lead a healthy life. And most importantly, I think about the opportunity I have to make a difference in water and a difference in people's lives all over the world. And you know what? Even those days when I don't want to get up, and obviously there are many, when it's bucketing on Monday, it was bucketing with rain. The trails were flooded. I couldn't even go. I was like wading like a little duck through ankle deep water. It's terrible. You think that's fun? Well, okay, I made it fun because I was like sloshing around like, ha ha ha, I'm like playing in the water. It's like water is my thing and here I am. But it is about a mindset. If I'd sat there and gone, oh, it's miserable outside and it's bucketing with rain and I'm going to have a terrible time, I would have had a terrible time. If I get out there and I think about the adventure and I think about all the cool stuff that I'm doing, then I have a great time, right? It's our choice how we frame our problems in life, and it's our choice how we think about creating and developing solutions to them. So if I think about the water crisis, if we look at it and we say, oh, it's a terrible disaster, I'm never going to make an impact, I'm never going to deliver change, we never will. But if we stop for a moment and we say, this is just another problem, how can we solve it? Then you know what? We'll take steps towards doing it. There's an old Chinese saying, every long journey begins with a single step. If we never take that step, if I had never, ever taken that first step running across those deserts, if I'd never stepped up to say, I can make a difference, I don't care what people say, I don't care who I am or where I'm from, I am going to make an impact on this planet. If I've never thought that, we never would have had more than 80,000 bars of soap donated and never would have created a movement for change. Never be thinking and talking to companies all over the world about how we can actually shift supply chains and help improve the lives of billions of people. Sometimes all we have to do is to stop saying I can't and start saying I can. Because when we say I can, we can change the world.
It is a matter of mindset. And before we end and go to Q&A, I want to give people tangible things that they can do. One of which is please support our campaign to reach 2 million kids in schools with the hygiene they need, but also the water that they need to wash their hands with. It is a basic human right, and everybody listening here today can do something about it. Thank you, Mina. Frankie, shall we take some questions?
Yes, let us take some questions. So we have a few here. We've got a question from Rachel Schrapeau, who is the CEO of SoapAid. She's joining us here today. She says, don't knock lawyers. I was one too. She goes on to ask, how can we better work together as organizations to connect water, soap, and good hygiene and bring to the attention of large corporates how important the connection between the three are?
Mina, I believe you know Rachel. Is that true?
I do know Rachel. Oh, Rachel. Oh, sorry, you're a lawyer. I didn't know that. Now I think of you different. No, I don't think. No, I'm not knocking lawyers. Lawyers are good people too. We need lawyers. And many of the best people in the world have gone on to do other things other than be lawyers. I'm just going to stop digging myself in a hole. Lawyers are great people. the reality actually about studying law is that it's a great way. It's just a different way of thinking. It really makes you think critically, improves creative analysis and things. Anyway, it's good. Anyway, that's not the question. Question is, how can we work better together as organizations? I think the first thing is we need to break silos. We need to break the silos inside the water community. We need to break the silos that exist between water and climate, between water and forests and deforestation, between water and plastics and water and oceans and water and everything. Everything is related to water. Water is the most basic building block of everything we use, we buy, we consume, and we are every single day. So why are we not having conversations with the teams, with the groups of people in energy, in mining, in petroleum? Why are we not talking at food system summits? Why are we not talking in agriculture and textiles and manufacturing? Water should be a common theme everywhere for everyone because it impacts everything everywhere. So Rachel, what can we do as a community? I also think I think firstly, we need to sit down and have open conversations where it's not a turf war. We need to create and understand that this is about a big, bold, ambitious goal, about a North Star for water, about saying, how do we close the gap between where we need to be on SDG 6 and where we are today? And the only way for us to do that is by coming together and working together to build a movement for change where we recruit the planet to help us to solve this issue, because we are a group of people, but we'll be an amazing force of change if we can recruit more people around us. So in simple terms, we need to break the silos. We can break the silos by creating big, shared, ambitious goals that we all understand and recognize are bigger than any one of us and that we all need to work together to solve. And then we need to recruit others to join us in this goal. And that's not just people in the water sector, it's people far outside.
Lawyers can end up in unique places. In Rachel's case, she was a lawyer for a long time. Hello, Rachel. And now has ended up as the CEO of a soap manufacturing nonprofit. And clearly in your case, started as a lawyer, ended up in a wheelchair, right?
No, I'm not in a wheelchair anymore. I'm running.
On that one day, of course.
Well, actually for more than one day, but yes, anyway, it was not a good experience. Not my finest moment, but we don't need to revisit that.
No, your words about turf wars resonate with me. We are nothing if not for our partnerships. We do not have the relationships with the end user, if you will, of our soap that we want to have. Some of our soap bars have ended up in the most remote places of the world, floating villages, Himalayan mountain ranges, you name it. And we need to work with people who have the cultural credibility and relationship with these communities. We joke often internally, you know, what if Samir flew to Liberia one day and started handing out bars of soap to village mothers and family units? I would be shooed away very, very quickly. And so I think, to piggyback on your sentiment, we need to find a way to use our collective strengths and integrate with one another. We are nothing without working with our water NGO partners, Wine to Water, Gravity Water, you name it. They fulfill our mission, and we work hand in hand together. So I will take your words to heart, removing silos in our smaller world, and also flattening the turf, if you will, so that it does not exist.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, I think there are so many life lessons I've learned from running, especially running in some of these extreme places. One of them is that I might be the person, the Muppet, who is the one that's prepared to kind of put my hand up and get these runs done. But I couldn't do this without a team. And I think that goes for everything. I'm not going to be the best person to fix knee problems and innovate like nappies to put on my knees. There are people far better at that than me. And I think one of the skills we need to learn in water, particularly because this is such an urgent problem, and we have so much distance to travel, we cannot afford to be inefficient in how we do it. Is how we can leverage partnerships and how we can leverage organizations and others on the ground. I'm not going to be good at making soap. You guys are great at making soap. You guys are great at distributing soap and great at getting into the hands of the people that need it. So why don't we do more to make that happen? Other people, when we did our Sweat for Soap run campaign, there are a whole bunch of people out there that are going to be great at doing running. Some people walked for 5 kilometers over a week, and other people ran 150 kilometers over a week. Totally amazing, right? But everybody made a contribution. And I think part of the joy of watching global movements take off is to be able to see all these different parts and pieces of the puzzle all come together to become a picture of unity and a picture of change. So I totally commend you for working with partners, for understanding this is not about duplicating or about replicating resources in order to create a fiefdom. This is actually about delivering on a common goal and getting back to Rachel's core question, which is how do we unite people together? How do we unite organizations? This is about saying every one of us is part of something much bigger. This is not about creating a power base for us. This is not about just going out there and getting as much money as we possibly can to get rich or to create the power of our organization. This is actually about solving a global problem, a problem that is impacting the lives of billions of people, and far more importantly than billions of adults and older people, it's the kids. Someone said to me, when you're running, what happens when you want to give up? Like, what makes you keep going all those days when you're hurting? A lot of them, your feet are falling apart with blisters. I've had a lot of those. At those moments when you're just so exhausted, how do you keep going? How did you keep going? So you've got a 15-centimeter fracture in your stupid leg. And well, it's not a stupid leg, it's got me a lot of places. So how did I get a 15-centimeter fracture in my leg? Okay. The reality is, the thing that I think about are kids. It's the kids I gave 10-liter containers of water to in South Africa off the back of a truck in one of my runs, who had stayed home from school waiting for their water because they had run dry. It's the kids I met in Ghana who are scrabbling around in the water, in the soil, to try to dig down deep with their hands in order to find water to drink. It's the communities of people, of kids in schools that I've met everywhere. When the going gets tough, the one thing I think about is, what life do I want to leave for those kids? And that is a life where their dreams are not limited by their access to water, their access to soap, and their access to a healthy life. It's a dream where it's a world, it's a life where they're just restricted by the dreams that they dream, by the vision that they have, by the future that they want to leave. So, Samir, on your point about delivering soap to schools in need and to the lives and improving the lives of kids, that is absolutely fundamental to not just my future and your future, but to the future of this planet. Because without them, there is no future for anyone anywhere.
Yes. I'm inspired, and I have so much energy to wake up tomorrow and put this into reality. Oftentimes it's very easy to talk, but I know tomorrow you will run, tomorrow you will advocate, and we will do the same on our part too.
Well, I think the call, if I had a call to everybody, it's not only to support EcoSoap Bank in the work that you're doing, and to help to provide soap to the communities that need it, especially to kids in schools. Great campaign. It is not only to work out how we can work together on our next Sweat for Soap campaign. I think we need lots more of these. But it is particularly to stop and think, what contribution can I make to help to cure water blindness? What is it that I can say to people at my next dinner table conversation, at my next community gathering? What is it that I can do? I may be one person, but if I recruit others, together we can change the world.
Thank you, Mina. Truly. We'll end it there today. I believe we'll get cut off the minute this ends, Mina, but from the bottom of our hearts and with the collective audience and ambiance created here today, thank you for your work. Keep going, please. We need it.
Samir, thank you. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to join. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to meet and learn more about the amazing work that you guys are doing. It is truly incredible. And I think, you know, if there's ever anybody sitting, listening to this or looking at this post the live process who looks around and says, oh, what can I do? The level of innovation that you have exhibited to put together EcoSoap Bank, to sit there during this year, to use that overused 2020 word pivot, what you're doing, and to create innovative solutions to what is a massive global problem. You are that person that says, I'm one person, but I can actually get out there and change the world. And maybe I don't know, you know, I'm not a soap aficionado, but I can figure this out. We are smart, innovative, creative people that believe in making our world better and believe that by making it better, we improve the lives of others. So just a huge thank you for letting me be part of your journey. And thank you for being part of the Sweat for Soap campaign. And I really hope that we can do more of these. I really hope that we can work together in the future to make our planet better.
Together we'll make the biggest splash we possibly can.
Oh, nice.
10 bars of soap out the door just for that.
I may be a drop in the ocean, but together we can be an ocean of change.
There is nothing more to say. Mina, have a wonderful day in Australia. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Samir.